session of sociology. In our last lecture, we started discussing about Emile Durkheim. We'll continue with that. In our last lecture, we discussed about the biographical sketch of Durkheim. Today, we will discuss about social facts, one of the important concepts given by Emile Durkheim. We'll discuss about social fact, we'll discuss about social things, then we'll discuss about the solidarity, mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity. Because of efforts of Durkheim, sociology accepted as an autonomous academic discipline. We discussed it in our last lecture too. Comte is father of sociology, but because of Durkheim, sociology is accepted as an autonomous academic discipline. Durkheim won the recognition for the idea of the science of society. According to Durkheim, we can study society scientifically. So he won the recognition for this idea that the science of society, sociology, according to Durkheim, sociology is nothing but the science of the society, right? And which could contribute to the study of moral, intellectual problem of modern society. While discussing Durkheim's conception of sociology, we shall focus on three important aspects, and those aspects are general conditions for establishment of social sciences. Second aspect, sociology as a study of social facts. And third is sociological methods. General conditions, the first aspect, the general condition for the establishment of social sciences. It is because of Durkheim, sociology emerged as a distinctive subject, as a distinctive discipline. It was only in 1887 that the first chair in social sciences was created for Durkheim by the French government at the University of Bordeaux. So it was the University of Bordeaux, right, where the first chair in social sciences was created. It was many years later that he received the title of Professor of Sociology. Durkheim was explicitly concerned with outlining the nature and scope of sociology. For Durkheim, it is very important that there should be a clear-cut, defined scope and nature of sociology. If we have a nature and scope of sociology, then only we can study sociology as an academic discipline. Durkheim considered social sciences to be distinctive from natural sciences because social sciences dealt with human relations. The method used in natural sciences could be used in social sciences as well. Although it is different from natural sciences because social sciences deals with the human nature, human relationships, but the scientific methods which we can apply for natural sciences study, according to Durkheim, those methods could be applied to study society. Durkheim laid down the general condition for establishment of social sciences or sociology. According to him, science is not coextensive with human knowledge or thought. Not every type of question the mind can formulate can be tested by science. Thus, science deals with specified area or subject matter of its own, not with total knowledge. Science is not a total knowledge. Science can deal with the subject matter of its own, right? Biology, what are the natural sciences? Physics, chemistry, biology, all these are the natural sciences. That physics can deal with the subject matter of physics. Biology can deal with the subject matter of biology, right? Not with natural sciences cannot deal with the total knowledge. Science must have a definite field to explore. Science is concerned with things, objective realities. For social sciences to exist, it must have a definite subject matter. Subject matter, defining the subject matter for sociology is main concern of the Durkheim. Science doesn't describe individuals, but type or classes of subject matter. If human societies can be classified, then They help us in arriving at general rules and discover regularities of behavior. As I told you in my previous lecture, according to Durkheim, society is more important rather than the individual, right? That's what he said, that science cannot describe with the individual, and on that basis, if we divide society or classified the society, then it could help us in discovering the regularities of behavior and defining the rules. Social sciences, which classifies the human societies, describes the normal form of social life in each type of society for simple reasons that it describes the type itself. Whatever pertains to the type is normal, and whatever is normal is healthy. The subject matter of science yields general principles or laws. If society were not subject to regularities, no science would be possible, no social science would be possible. What does the key mean by this subject matter? Subject matter means the general principles or laws, right? General principles or the laws of the subject, right? If they were not subject to regularities, then social science would not be possible, right? Although there is a continuity between natural and social world, the social is an distinctive and autonomous sphere of subject matter, as either the biology or the physical or chemical world. The method of science applicable in the field of natural sciences are valid within the social fields. Sociology as a study of social facts. This is the main concept given by the Durkheim. What is social fact? Right? How can you study social fact? How can you observe social fact? And what important role this social facts plays in this society or social study of sociology? In defining the subject matter of sociology, two tasks are involved. Defining the total field of study, that is the field of study which you want to which you want to observe. Suppose you want to observe a specific society, right? That is your field of study. Suppose you want to study about the consumer behavior of female, or the behavior of females in society, or the behavior of youngster, or you want to study about the marriage institution, or you want to study about the role played by the religion in our society, right? So this is the total field of study, and defining the sort of thing which will be found in this field, and then you have to define the sort of things which will be found in this field. In his book, The Rule of Sociological Methods, which was published in 1895, Durkheim was concerned with the second task and calls social fact the subject matter of sociology, defining the sort of things which will be found in this field is main matter of concern. According to Durkheim, what is social fact? Social fact is nothing but the things which you can observe, right? And these social facts, is the subject matter of sociology. Durkheim defines social fact as ways of acting, thinking, and feeling external to individual and endowed with power of person by reason of which they control him. They control the individual. Anything, right? That is way of thinking, feeling, language, right? External, anything which is external to individual, and that thing has the power to control the individual, that is social fact. Society represents a specific reality which has its own characteristics. The unique reality of society is separate from reality studied by physical or biological sciences. Although we can study society scientifically, but society differs from the natural sciences, right? Because society has its own unique realities, which is separate from natural sciences subject. Societal reality is apart from individual and is over and above them. Society is more important, right? According to Durkheim, society is more important and society is over and above the individual. Although society is formed by a group of individual, but that is a group of individual, not a single individual, so it is above and over the individual. Thus the reality of society must be a subject matter of sociology. So the reality, according to Durkheim, the reality of society should be the subject matter of sociology but not an individual. The scientific understanding of any social phenomenon must emerge from collective or associational characteristics manifest in social structure of society. Social fact is that thing or is that way of acting, thinking, or feeling. Anything, your language, your feelings, thinking, acting, perceptions, thesis. All these are theses. We discussed about the thesis when we were discussing about Karl Marx. All these are the social facts. Durkheim treated social facts as things. They are real and exist independent of individuals' will or desire. Individuals' will and desire cannot affect social facts. They are independent of individuals' wills or desire. Society is important over and above the individual. They are external to individual and are capable of exerting constraint upon them. Social facts are free from the individual's will. They are external to individual, and these social facts exerts are capable to exert constraint upon them. When we say what people will think about us, right? It matters a lot to us. So this is what Durkheim said, that they are capable of exerting constraint on them, are thinking what people will think about us. This is a social fact, and this is exerting a constraint. This is putting a pressure on us, right? So it is about the individual will, or it is external to individual. But these social facts are capable of exerting constraint on them, and it is very important for the solidarity of the society, right? They are independent of individual manifestations. The true nature of social fact lies in collective or associational characteristics inherent in this society. Collective or associational characteristic is very important. What the majority thinks, right? Associational characteristics. Group is more important than individual. Group's thinking is more important than individuals' thinking. Legal codes and customs, morale, rules, religious beliefs and practices, language, etc., are all social facts. As I told you, social facts, according to Durkheim, it is nothing but things, right? Your language, religion, custom, beliefs, morale, acting, thinking, feeling, all these are social facts. Types of social facts. Durkheim saw social fact as lying along a continuum. मतलब, it continuum is from extremes. Extremes means negative, positive, minus to plus. It varies. It lies on the continuum. Types of social facts. There are two types of social fact: structural or morphological social phenomenon, and second is institutionalized form of social fact. Right? Structural or morphological social phenomena. They make up the subspectrum of collective life. The number and nature of elementary part of which society is composed, the way in which the morphological constituents are arranged, and the degree to which they are fused together. What is morphological or structural social phenomena? The number and the nature of elementary parts of which society is composed. Society is composed of individuals, composed of many elementary parts, right? The way in which morphological constituents are arranged, how these constituents are arranged, how they are linked with each other, how education, job, and other marriage and other social phenomena are related with each other, and the degree to which they are fused together, right? The category of social facts are included the distribution of population over the surface of territory, the forms of dwellings, nature of communication system, etc. The morphological social phenomena in this category includes the distribution of population over the surface of territory. We see that some area of the country or of the city is densely populated rather than the other areas. Why is it so? Why it is like that? The forms of dwelling and the nature of communication system in that society, all these things are included in the morphological social phenomenon. Second is institutionalized form of social fact. What is institutionalized form of social fact? They are more or less general and widely spread in the society. They represent the collective nature of the society as a whole. Collective nature, right? What the people, what the group thinks, what is the group's perception, right? What is accepted by the majority. Under this category fall legal and moral rules, religious dogma, and established belief and practices prevalent in the society. Right? There are certain rituals, there are certain rules which everyone has to follow from birth till death. Right? This is institutionalized form of societal fact, right? Because why everyone has to follow? Because it represents the collective nature. These rules, beliefs, or this religious dogma, this is prevalent in the society, and this represents the collective nature of the society. There are social facts which are not institutionalized. Such social facts have not yet acquired a crystallized form. Right? See, there are morphological social facts. We discussed about the morphological social facts, right? Then we discussed about the institutionalized social fact. Institutionalized social fact is which is accepted by the group or the majority of people, and the third type is also there, which is not institutionalized and not acquired a crystallized form yet. The category of social fact have not attained a total objective and independent existence comparable to institutionalized one. Although people have started accepting it, but still majority have not accepted it. So it has not acquired a crystallized form. There are many things, right? That majority says that no, this is not according to our culture. But as the society changes, people have started accepting it, but still it has not taken a crystallized form. So this type of social facts also exist in this society according to Durkheim, right? And these social facts have been termed as social currents, right? They have not acquired a crystallized form, but they are existing in this society, and people and more people have started accepting those facts, and this is these social facts have been termed as social currents. Sense of indignity or pity aroused. Example is, suppose a sense of pity aroused by specific incident, right? That is a social fact. When you feel bad about someone, when you feel like this is correct, right? So that is social current. It has not acquired an institutionalized form, but it is existing in this society. This social fact, this type of social fact have not taken a crystallized form but still existing in the society, and these effects are termed as social current. Remember this thing, this term is very important. The social effect have been termed as social effect. Durkheim made important distinction in terms of normal and pathological social effects. Social effects, what are the social effects? Social effects, anything which we can observe in the society is the social effects, right? Now there are two types of social effect according to Durkheim, the normal social effect and the pathological social effect, right? So if question arises, or if someone asks you the what is the normal and pathological social effect, or social effect is normal when it is generally encountered in society of certain time at certain phase in its evolution, that is normal. When it is generally encountered in the society, it is prevalent in the society, it is thesis of that time, thesis, है ना? It is the thesis, Hegel's thesis of that time, then that is normal, normal social fact, which is prevalent, the thinking, the way of acting, the behavior, the belief, religious dogma, which is prevalent at a particular time in the society is normal, normal social fact. Um, Explained this. Durkheim explained it with example of crime. According to Durkheim, crime is normal in the society. How this is possible that crime is uh, normal in the society, right? It is a normal social effect. According to Durkheim, it is impossible to eradicate crime from the society. Crime is a normal social effect. It exists in each and every society, right? It exists in each and every society. If it exists in each and every society, then it means it is normal. Yes, it is normal according to Durkheim. It is normal until and unless it crosses a certain limit. If within certain limit, even crime is normal social fact according to Durkheim. But when that crime crosses that certain limit, then it becomes a pathological social fact, right? Normal social fact which is prevalent in every society, right? And in society is normal social fact. Every deviation from this standard is a pathological fact. If someone deviates from that standard is sociological fact, right? That is sociology. An extraordinary increase in the rate of crime is pathological, right? There are certain characteristics of social facts. What are the main characteristics of social fact? Social facts are external. Second characteristic is constraint. Third is independence. And fourth characteristic is generality. External. External means external. Exist outside the individual consensus. Their existence is external to individual. What you think hardly matters. What this society, what is prevalent in this society, what the group of individual thinks, that matters a lot. So the social facts are external. They exist outside the individual. So individual is not important, but society or the group of individuals is important. Religious belief and practices exist outside and prior to individual. Like religious belief, they are sui generis. They exist before the birth of an individual and will exist even after that individual, even after the death of that individual. So it exists outside the individual, right? Individual doesn't matter. Social second characteristic is constraint. Social fact exercises the constraint on individual. What is acceptable and what is not, what is good, what is not, yani ki what is normal and what is pathological, what one should do and what one should not do. These social fact exercises the constraints on the individual. As I told you, it matters a lot to us what people will think about us. Should we do this? Is it the right or wrong thing? Is it good or bad? Right? So why we think about this? Because of these social facts, and these social facts exerts pressure or constraint on an individual. Social fact is recognized because it forces itself on the individual. Every individual has to follow those social facts. The social facts is that which has more or less general occurrence in the society. It is generally present in the society. It is prevalent in the society. It is independent of personal feature of individual and universal attribute of human nature. Belief, feeling, practices of group taken collectively are the examples. The social fact is specific. It represents the collective content of social group or society. Right? As I told you that it is a collective consciousness. Group matters a lot rather than individual. It represents the collective content. Social facts can be subjected to categorization and classification. We can categorize and classify the social facts. Social facts form the subject matter of the science of sociology. So, when I told you that it is very important to understand what is social fact, I hope now you understand why it is important, because these social fact forms the subject matter of science of sociology, and for any subject it is very important that that subject should have um, distinct and independent subject matter. So these social facts form the subject matter of sciences of sociology. Externality and constraint. The second characteristic was the externality and constraint. Every individual is born into an ongoing society which already have definite organization and structure. There are values, norms, beliefs, and practices which the individual finds ready-made at birth and which he learns through process of socialization. Since these social phenomena exist prior to the individual and have an objective reality, they are external to individual. These social facts exist prior to individual and will exist after the individual. These social facts are external to individual. One individual is only a single element within the totality of relationship which constitutes a society. So individual doesn't matter. It's only a single unit. It's a single element with the totality of relationship. So whole matters rather than a single unit. Whole matters a lot. These relationships are not the creation of single individual but are constituted by multiple interaction between the individuals. Whenever any elements combined and thereby produces by the effect of their combination the new phenomena, it is plain that these new phenomena reside not in the original element but in the totality formed by their union. So, totality matters a lot rather than a single unit, right? These social facts put pressure or constraints on an individual. They exercise on individual. When the individual attempts to resist social facts, they assert themselves. Whenever any individual try to resist, these social facts assert themselves. Social pressure. In simpler words, if I tell you what is this is social pressure. Whenever you try to deviate from normal prevalent existing society, then this social fact will exert pressure on this. What we call in our normal language is social pressure. The assertion may range from mild ridicule to social isolation and moral and legal sanction. As I told you, that according to Durkheim, these social facts lies in a continuum from negative to positive, matlab extreme. The two ends are at the extreme, negative and positive, right? And so these assertion varies from mild ridicule to social isolation and moral to legal sanctions too. This conformity is not much due to the fear of sanction being applied as an acceptance of legitimacy of social facts. Utilitarian viewpoint, which was prevalent during Durkheim's time, that society could be held together and there would be the greatest happiness if each individual worked in his self-interest, right? According to the utilitarian viewpoint, you might be aware about this utilitarian viewpoint. What is utilitarian theory or utilitarian viewpoint? That they give preferences to the individual rather than the society. According to the utilitarian scientist, that society could be held together or could be more happy if individual worked for his self interest, right? And individual's interest and society interest do not coincide. For social order, it was necessary for society to exercise some control or pressure over its member. See, utilitarian said that individual is important, but Durkheim disagree from their viewpoint, and according to Durkheim, society or collectivity, collective consciousness is more important than the individual consciousness or individual will. It is collective consciousness which can hold the society together. When majority thinks what is correct, what should be done, then only they can be together. If individual will work according to his or her interest or will, then you cannot hold the society together. And at that time when Durkheim was there was much upheaval in the French society, and the main concern was to bring peace back in the society. So according to Durkheim, that was the basic reason the Durkheim has given so much importance to the society rather than the individual, right? So individual, according to Durkheim, individual is not important, but society or whole is important. Social fact, according to Durkheim, is collective aspects of beliefs, tendencies, and practices of a group that characterize truly social phenomenon. The social phenomenon transmitted through collective means of socialization. We discussed about the socialization when we were discussing our BSOC 131 and 132. So, what is socialization? We discussed what is socialization, right? So these social phenomenon are transmitted through the collective means of socialization according to Durkheim. Social facts are external, they are also general because they are collective. They can be imposed on individual who form a given society. Sociological methods. Before starting the sociological method, let me summarize about the social facts. Social fact is what? Social fact, according to Durkheim, social fact is are the things which we can observe, right? Our language, our religious beliefs, our customs, our institutions, are all are these social facts, right? There are certain characteristics of social fact. Social facts are external to individual, social facts are general, social facts can put constraint on an individual. It is very important to put constraint on an individual, right? It is independent of individual's will, and as I told you, it is general, right? So, what are social facts? And social facts are important because social facts forms the uh, subject matter of sociology. And to be an independent discipline, it is very important for sociology to show that sociology should have independent subject matter, and these social facts forms the subject matter of sociology according to Durkheim, right? Now, sociological methods. Sociological method, the first rule, consider social fact as things. It is very important. Remember this. What are the social facts? Social facts are the things. While studying social fact as a thing, the following three rules have to be followed in order to be objective. When you are considering social facts as a thing, there are three rules which you should keep in your mind, which are important. All preconception must be eradicated. There should be emotionally neutral attitude towards what they set out to investigate. When you are investigating something, if you will start the investigation with biasedness, then there are the chances that you cannot generalize your conclusion, right? When you cannot generalize your conclusion, your results are of no use. That could be specific to us to certain cases, but we want generalized result, and for generalized result it is very important that observer should be neutral. You should have Observer should have a neutral attitude. If you don't like someone, or if you have, as a human being, we all have our thinking. If I have a certain perception about someone or something, right, I should keep that perception, my thinking aside, before starting observing or before starting studying about that thing, that social fact. So first is that there should be no biasedness in investigators mind, right? Second is, sociologists have to formulate the concept precisely, objectively. Define your objectives. They must proceed by the conceptualizing their subject matter in terms of those properties which are external enough to be observed. You should define your objectives, right? Define your concept, formulate your concept precisely, and these subject matter should be external enough. Should be external. It should not be related to any individual. It should be external. When sociologists undertake the investigation of social fact, they must consider them from an aspect that is independent of their individual manifestation. What I think, what individual thinks doesn't matter. What But I want to, if I want to study some social fact, I want to observe certain social facts, then it is very important for me to, I should have a defined precise objectives, what I want to observe about that social fact. Then I should be unbiased. I should keep all my thoughts aside, all my perception aside. And then third is, there should I should consider an aspect that it is independent of my individual manifestation. The objectivity of social fact depends on their being separated from individual facts which expresses them. As I told you, when observer is biased, when you observe some social fact with biasedness, then you cannot generalize your results. You cannot conclude your results generally, right? You cannot apply your results to the society or to the majority. It could be specific to certain cases, right? So objectivity of social fact depends on their being separated from individual facts which expresses them. Social facts provide a common standard for members of society. Social fact exist in form of legal rules, moral, regulation, religious dogma, and everything. Social facts are seen in currents of opinion. We discussed about the currents, which vary according to the time and place. These currents are plainly social facts. What are the social currents? Social currents, those facts which are not crystallized yet, those facts which haven't taken the crystallized form yet, those are known as the social facts, but are prevalent in the society. And these social current varies according to the time and the place. Rules for distinguishing between normal and pathological social facts. Normal social facts, which is prevalent in the society, is normal social fact, and when one try to deviate from the normal social facts, that is known as the pathological social facts. How can you distinguish whether it's a normal social fact or it's a pathological social fact? So Durkheim discussed or defined certain rule to distinguish between the normal and pathological social facts. According to Durkheim, the social fact is considered to be normal when it is understood in context of society in which it exists. When you are studying some society, when you consider that social fact in context of the society, then that is a normal social fact. A social fact which is general to a given type of society is normal when it has utility for that societal type, which is widely accepted by the individual, right? And when one tries to deviate from that, that is pathological social facts, right? That is which is not general to a given type of a society, that social facts are known as pathological social facts. Rules for classification of social types. How can you classify social types? There have been two opposing conceptions of collective life among scholars. Some historians hold that each society is unique, so we cannot compare society, and philosophers hold that all society belongs to one species, so there is nothing difference, we cannot compare and contrast. But Durkheim takes an intermediary position. He speaks social species or social types. According to Durkheim, right, society is not unique, we can compare the society, and all societies are belong to one species. Yes, it belongs to one species, but even though they belongs to one species, but there are certain qualitative differences among those species. We can study those qualitative differences, right? So according to Durkheim, we can study the qualitative differences, we can compare and contrast these societies. Classification of society into types is an important step towards the explanation as problem, and their explanation will differ for each type, right? One type, in one type of society, if we classify the society, right, then we can explain the problems, and their explanation will differ from each type of the society. Then it is, according to Durkheim, it is very important to decide whether the social fact is normal or abnormal. Since societal fact is normal or abnormal only in relation to a given social type. What is normal social fact and what is abnormal social fact? Normal social fact, general social facts are known as the normal social facts, and which deviates from that generality are the abnormal social facts. So it depends on the social type, right? Durkheim uses the term social morphology for classification of social types. So, what term he has used for social type? Social morphology. The word type means common characteristics of several units in a group. Common characteristics of several units in a group is social type. There are certain rules for explanation of social fact. According to Durkheim, there are two approaches which may be used in explanation of social fact. First is the causal and second is the functional, right? Functional approach. Causal approach is why. The causal fact is concerned with explaining why the social phenomenon is in question exists. Why? Why this belief? Why this? Why this religious dogma? Why should I follow this rule? Right? The causal fact is concerned with explaining why the social phenomena in question exist. So the first is causal. You should explain it why. Why is it required? And the second is functional social fact. The functional social fact involves establishing a connection between the fact under consideration and the general need of social organism, and in what this connection consists. That is, functional social fact explains the connection between the effect why this and the general need of social organism. Why this? What purpose this social fact solves, what for purpose this social fact serves to the society, and in what connection it exists, what is the function of that social fact, why it exists, why this custom, why this ritual, why this institution, right? Why marriage institution exists. This functional social fact gives the reason of this fact. It provides us the relationship between fact under consideration and general need of the social organism. The causes which give rise to a social fact must be identified separately from whatever social function it may fulfill. Right? So it is very important that social fact must be identified separately from the causes. That is the causes why this social fact exists in the society should be identified separately from whatever social function it may fulfill. Forms of social solidarity. See, Durkheim, at the time of Durkheim, there was upheaval in French society. The concern of the sociologist was to bring peace to the society. So that's why Durkheim and other sociologists have given importance to the society. For them, it is very important that there should be solidarity, a unity in the society. When there will be unity, solidarity in the society, then only there could be peace in the society. Durkheim defined two types of solidarity: mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity. Durkheim was curious to know the forces which regulate and control social life. To conceptualize his idea, he established dichotomy between segmental and complex societies. Segmental and complex society means primitive and complex society. What are the characteristics of those society and what type of solidarity is found among them? It was the question in Durkheim's mind. What are the characteristics of segmental society and complex society, and what type of solidarities are found in that type of society? He answered that question with reference to form of solidarities. He propounded that two types of solidarities: mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity. Right? So there are two types of solidarities: organic solidarities and mechanical solidarities. What is mechanical solidarity and what is organic solidarity? Mechanical solidarity is sui generis, that is born in natural course of event based on resemblance of individual. Right? That is mechanical solidarity. It generated by itself, born in natural course of event because of resemblance of individual. Right? Like uh, individuals belonging to a particular caste, right? That is the resemblance, that is type of a mechanical solidarity, right? Sui generis is born in natural course of event based on the resemblance, right? Mechanical solidarity can be characterized by segmental system. Segments we have made, there are the segments in this society, right? As I told you, segmental society means, like, take an example of caste, clan, creed. Okay, so the mechanical solidarity, caste, because of caste there is a solidarity among individuals, because of the profession there is a solidarity, because of the economical status there could be the solidarity, right? So there is characterized by the segment system. There are various segments in the society exist, and in these segments the solidarity is mechanical solidarity. Every segment is homogeneous and involved in the social structure. This every segment is homogeneous. Homogeneous means all individuals are alike, right? Like a caste. If we say caste, the people belonging to the same caste, that is homogeneous group. A caste group is a homogeneous group. People that is who are in the same profession, that group is homogeneous group, right? All carpenters, homogeneous group. Teachers, group of teachers, homogeneous group. Group of doctors, right? Homogeneous group. On economically, if we divide, then that is a homogeneous group and involved in the social structure. The segmental social structure is characterized by low degree of interdependence because they are homogeneous. Their characteristics are alike, right? They hardly differ from each other, right? They all possess the same types of characteristics. So they have low degree of interdependence, right? There is low degree of interdependence among in the homogeneous group or segmental society, right? What occurs in one segment hardly has an effect on others. What is happening in one group or in one segment hardly impacts the other segment, right? Segment social structure has relatively low volume of morale and material density. What is a low volume of morale and material density? Volume means interaction take place among limited people, right? Because they are homogeneous, a low volume of morale. So the interaction among limited people, because it is a segmented society, you are confined to a particular group, so you are interacting with limited people. So in mechanical society or in segmental society, I'm sorry, it's not a mechanical society, it's mechanical solidarity. In segmental society, right, the volume, there is a less interaction among people, it is limited to the people. And density means number of times people interact is also limited. There is not much interaction among themselves too. The reason is that what one can do the other can do, right? Because we are homogeneous, we belong to the same group. What I can do other can do, right? They are similar, their interdependence is limited in segmental society. What form of custom regulate and control the condition of people bound in mechanical solidarity? So it is only the custom and control, right? The conditions of people bound in mechanical solidarity. Custom, this custom is responsible for in segmental society is responsible for this mechanical solidarity, and the control uh, is responsible for this mechanical solidarity, right? Homogeneity, Durkheim answered this through collective consciousness. Collective consciousness is again important concept given by the Durkheim. Collective consciousness again is nothing but the what the majority thinks, what the people of major what in the in a group, what the majority thinks, what is their perception, what is their rules, that is the collective consciousness. So in segmental society, collective consciousness matters a lot rather than the individual consciousness. Homogeneity of experience leads to collective consciousness because we are similar, so this leads to collective consciousness. This gives rise to a common belief and practices. Custom and law protects the group, its properties and its sentiments in segmental society. The nature of law is thus collective. A wrongdoer is punished by collectivity, panchayat system, right? It is wrongdoer is punished by the collectivity, right? Penal or repressive law is an indicator of mechanical solidarity. Remember this thing. Which type of law is present, was prevalent in mechanical solidarity or indicator of mechanical solidarity? This is important. Remember few words. This is penal or repressive law, right? A wrong against a group is punished. Punishment is given to the individual. Punishment strengthens the belief and value of the society. A wrong brings injury to the group sentiments. Every punishment restores the authority of collectivity. Remember this thing. This every punishment restores the authority of collectivity. If someone will go beyond the normal condition in segmental society, they should be punished. Why they should be punished? To restore the authority of collectivity, to for collective consciousness, and this collective consciousness brings the solidarity in the society. That's why it is important. Durkheim defines collective consciousness as a set of beliefs, custom, which on an average are common in society and form a determinant system which has its own lifestyle. The more the belief and sanctions are present in the society, the less are the chances of freedom of an individual. More restrictions on an individual, the less chances of freedom of an individual. In mechanical solidarity, where mechanical solidarity is effective, there is a strong, extensive collective consciousness. It brings harmonious relationship in activities of people, right? What is organic solidarity? Mechanical solidarity is collective solidarity, is mechanical solidarity, and it exists in the this segmental society. What is organic solidarity? Durkheim viewed the division of labor as an essential condition of organic solidarity, right? It is important, and this conception of difference among the individual are visible to extent that everybody has a specific field activities. In this, the individual consensus is distinct from the collective consensus. Organized social structure is thus characterized by the high degree of interdependence. Because of the division of labor, people depend on each other. A barber depends on the teacher for his kids, and a teacher depends on the carpenter for his day work, or the plumber. Organized social structure has a relatively high volume. Remember, in I'm sorry, in this complex society, law is restitutive. In mechanical solidarity, it was penal. It is restitutive. Law with sanction of restitutive or cooperative nature work as an index of organic solidarity, right? That's all for today. Thank you very much. In our next lecture, we'll start discussing about Max Weber. Namaskar.